All right, so we're down here at Eye Candy, which is all the way down next door. And we got Tootie and Pio and DeWop and myself.
Sasquatch.
And we're gonna roll his frame over and get started on the Porterbuilt suspension and try and knock out front and rear kits in one day. We'll see. It's a lot of work to do. We also have to shoot a tech article at the same time. So we're gonna be busy. Ready? Let's push it out.
All right.
I just dropped it. Yeah, you want to say like, hey, truck's down here at Tray 5 and I'm super excited?
Yeah, the truck's down here at Tray 5. Super fucking excited. All right, thanks guys, I'm super excited. We'll see you later.
So this is the 454. Frank's gonna leave this engine in the truck. We're just gonna kind of refresh it, rebuild it, not get too crazy on it because it's supposed to be a really good runner. As you saw, we did some burnouts in it already. We're gonna rebuild the transmission because it's slipping a little bit, and then just put a fresh coat of paint on it, get all American billet pulley set up for it, and just make it look bitchin' like the rest of the truck. All right, we got the frame up on the lift. Wheels are off the front. We're gonna start stripping down the front suspension, but I wanna explain to you real quick why we go to something like a Porterbuilt front crossmember. First thing is the old steering box. We're gonna get rid of the steering box, go to a rack and pinion steering that's mounted to the crossmember. This crossmember also hangs about 3 inches too low. So when you wanna lay the frame flat on the ground, if you leave this crossmember, the first thing it's gonna hit is this crossmember, the truck's gonna sit high in the front. It's gonna bring the clearance up a little bit so that when we lay the frame on the ground, the front crossmember, instead of being hanging down by 3 inches, it's going to be up off the ground by about 1 inch. Along with that, you also get the new arms with the correct ball joint angles. Like I said, the rack and pinion with all new steering. So all the angles are kind of meant for a lower drive height, and it's just the optimal setup for this type of truck. Let's take it apart. Right now we're just gonna unpack everything, make sure we got everything, kind of take an inventory. The whole kit's gonna go together raw steel, so we're not worried about powder coat or anything right now, but we are still gonna press in ball joints and put in our bushings and basically mock the whole thing up, make sure everything fits, do any trimming we gotta do, and then when we get ready, we'll strip it all down and powder coat it. I think it's cool that Porterbuilt, when they box everything up, they do a box full of hardware, and there's really no screwing up what hardware is what. These are the upper hats that mount the bag mount and the upper control arm, and they also slide over the frame. So we're going to slide them over here, figure out which one of these holes we need to open up, and then we'll pull it off, drill the holes, and install them.
You guys don't mess around, do you?
Well, we're a little behind because Pio's a little slow today. All right, so we're going to try to put this on the truck.
Porterbuilt ball joint.
But as far as I understand, the ball joint still goes that way, but the arm goes this way.
Yeah.
So
We're trying a new design.
it's amateur hour over at Tray 5 Customs.
And leadership's not paying attention.
Hector's putting the driver's side arm on the passenger side, so. And we got Brian over here putting the ball joints on upside down. Since the axle is a leaf spring axle, we need to put some trailing arm saddles on there. I couldn't get any local, so we cut them out on our CNC. We're gonna bend them up, test them out, get them fit, roll on. Well, before we drill any holes or anything in the sides and tops of the frame rail, we're going to use the notch to kind of square everything up. And then we'll come back and we'll clamp this, take some measurements, make sure everything's square. We're still here because Pio and I have problems. Once we get to a point, it's like, well, it's only a couple more minutes just to get to that point. And then it's just a couple more minutes to get to that point. And meanwhile, both of our wives are sitting at home fucking waiting on us.
True story.
And we're just sitting here working like idiots.
All right, here we are, day 2. We got a couple things to wrap up today. Now we have a few more things to do, and this will be a rolling chassis.
Just less than 5 minutes, as long as you know where it is.
We're welding the axle to the notch so it doesn't move, and that way we can weld the bag mounts and the trailing arm saddles and the shock mounts on.
This thing originally had leaf springs, and we're converting it to the Porterbuilt kit with the trailing arms. So we had to cut all those mounts off, and then we made up some trailing arm saddles. We're just trying to position everything in place with the axle straight. We've got the axle tacked to the frame, so we know it's right and it's right home. All right, setting up the bag mounts is pretty easy. Pio's just we've got a spacer cut that we know is the right height. So we're just gonna use that, set it underneath there, and center it between the upper and the lower hole. We're just kind of mocking up the Watts-link setup here. So we just tacked this to the axle after we centered it and got it at the same angle as the pinion. And then it just gets a threaded, whatever you want to call it, it gets a tube. And that's what's going to keep the axle centered throughout the travel. And we want to set this up first so that we can cycle our suspension. All right, on Frank's chassis, we're gonna use these Slam SS7s. They're good for 250 PSI. We're only gonna put about 250,000 PSI to them, so they should be fine. All right, guys, long 2 days, but it's all wrapped up. Full Porterbuilt front and rear drop members. Truck already had some drop spindles on it, so we just reused those. We're gonna change out the wheels obviously later. But we got the rack and pinion in, we got the big block motor mounts in, shocks in, all the rear suspensions in, Slam Specialties bags, and like I say, full Porterbuilt drop members front and rear in 2 days with 2 people. Check it out.
I'm digging it. Thanks, guys.
Tired.
A little bit.